Jackson Hole, Wyoming is one of my favorite places on planet Earth. It is one of the most beautiful areas of our country, and I absolutely love it here. My husband and I have enjoyed so many wonderful summers in Jackson, and I want to share some of our favorite activities with you. First of all, the Tetons just rise right up off the floor of the valley and are spectacular. There's usually snow that remains on them for the summer, which makes them just such an awesomely beautiful sight. And of course, with the beautiful blue skies in the background most of the time, it's one gorgeous sight to behold. One of our favorite activities is taking bike rides through Teton National Park. There are so many beautiful biking trails throughout the park, and on as many days as possible during the week, we love to get on the bike and go down as many trails as possible. The backdrops are just amazing and gorgeous beyond compare. It really fills us up to be able to cycle in the midst of such gorgeous natural beauty. This was a really special trip up to Blue Miner Lake at the very, very top of one of the mountains overlooking Jackson Hole. These horses took us on this journey a couple of hours up the mountain, where we enjoyed absolutely spectacular views of the Tetons, as you can see there in the background here. Gorgeous views of the valley below and of Blue Miner Lake. And of course we enjoyed a delicious lunch and soaked up the beautiful fresh air up there. It was like air that nobody has ever breathed before. One of my favorite activities is photographing wildlife. And here my husband took this picture after I'd captured this moose walking along next to the side of the road leading into Jackson. Here's another moose. Isn't he beautiful? I think moose are really goofy looking animals, but they have so much character. You never know when you're going to come across them driving around Jackson Hole, but when we do, we always stop and look at them. They're just really enormously interesting creatures, I think. Here's a picture of an elk sticking out his tongue. Sort of like this picture. I didn't realize until I looked at it later that he was sticking out his tongue. Wow. Another spectacular activity for me was this birthday present from my husband. Here I am, paragliding in Jackson Hole off of Rendezvous Mountain. What a spectacular trip it was. I had to admit a little fear before we ran down the mountain and took off, but it was a glorious ride. I couldn't believe how quiet it was as we descended to the valley floor below. And then the views, of course, were out of this world beautiful of the whole Teton Valley. Oh my goodness. I loved every minute. And my husband gave me another paragliding trip for my 71st birthday, which I also enjoyed more than I can describe in words. Here's another mama moose swimming across the river. This is a snapshot I took as she crossed the Snake River, and I love this picture. Another thing that happens from time to time in Jackson Hole are traffic jams, thanks to the bison. They roam free there, so they cross whatever road they want, whenever they want, and hold up traffic for sometimes short times and sometimes for quite a long time. But I always love this when this happens. They are just the most fun animals to watch. They saunter along at their own leisure. They have no idea that we're waiting to pass by. And the images of them are just so much fun, I think. Here I took this picture out of the windshield of our car. Here's another one. Also, it's fun to see all the babies that tag along. One of the most exciting activities in Jackson is whitewater rafting. Here we are, my husband here and me here, on another fabulous trip down the Snake River. In this photo, we were about to hit the huge rapid known as the Big Kahuna, which will drench us all. It's such an exciting trip, and we do it every year when we are in Jackson. Did you know Jackson elected the first all-woman city council in America in 1920? Wyoming was the first state to have a woman as governor, and it was also the first state to give women the right to vote, and the year was 1869. You go, Wyoming! Autumn in Wyoming is a magical time. It is just incredibly beautiful when the leaves turn. The aspen trees, their leaves fluttering in the wind, look like pieces of gold. It's just incredibly beautiful. I love this picture with Mount Moran in the background. In December, one year, we spent Christmas in Jackson, and here we are about to embark on a sleigh ride through the Elk Refuge. The Elk Refuge only has elk in the wintertime. They go up in the mountains in the summertime. But in the winter months, some 6 to 7 elk can be seen grazing here. This molten barn in Teton National Park is one of the most photographed images in Jackson Hole. This is a picture my husband took of me throwing a snowball at him. I bet you can't guess what this is. I love this spectacular picture. That's a friend of ours walking in front of me on a morning hike in Yellowstone. That big burst of cloud that you see in front of him is Old Faithful spouting off, and the clouds are formed by the steam hitting the air. I love this picture. It's one of the more dramatic ones I've ever taken. Snowshoeing in Jackson in the winter is also a lot of fun. The scenery is so gorgeous everywhere. It's just like fills me up. You can't turn your head most anywhere in Jackson without seeing something beautiful. This is the Elk Arch, which there are 4 of them in the square in Jackson. One of the most iconic images associated with the town of Jackson. But you'll be glad to know that no elk was killed in order to construct these arches, because elk naturally shed their their antlers annually. But I think these arches that were built with their horns are incredibly beautiful. And this is a picture taken one Christmas night when we were downtown Jackson. Okay, the last activity I'll share with you is really a hoot. Pig wrestling. Teams of children are given greased pigs, and the size of the pig depends on the size of the kids. But I just love this activity. They all vie for muddy, greased pig glory. The teams have such interesting names such as Pigtails, Hog Wild, and Pigsties, and they have 1 minute to place that little pig butt first in a barrel. Fastest team wins. Oops, here's another one being grabbed by the hind legs. I don't know whether they were successful or not, but I love this picture. Whoops, this one got away. And the last picture is victory of these young men finally getting that big old pen into that barrel and winning first prize. So that is the end of my story about Jackson Hole, one of the most interesting and beautiful places on our planet Earth. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, the only trip you'll regret is the one you haven't taken.